Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Compstat Review. I am analyst Andrew Robinson. You may notice that I have a different co-host this week. While Chief Altahari is at the Chiefs training, I am joined by Officer David Adamczyk.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Andrew.
Happy for you to join me.
Thank you.
We're going to go straight into the numbers. We are doing Compstat for the week of 9/23 through 9/29. We'll jump right into murders. We are 0-0 week to date, 0-0 for the 28-day, and 0-1 year to date, which is a negative 100% change. Officer Dave has some information for us.
Yeah, so Andrew, we had talked about with the chief about talking about little bits of information that he wanted to convey as it relates to these numbers. As what can the public do, right? When they see something, is there any way that they could really avoid a situation or something? And so when we look at murder, we look at things more of a way of, hey, can you de-escalate the situation? You've got a lot of experience in the department and everything else, and you see all these reports, and we see things where, like, maybe this situation could have been de-escalated. Murder is such a violent crime, but the part of being able to de-escalate a situation, if somebody can, it's always the first and foremost to try and preserve safety, preserve life. But that's the first thing that we want to do, obviously, with murder. But murder's pretty tough, as it's such a violent crime.
It is, absolutely.
So with rape, I think rape is another crime, but the numbers are pretty decent for the year so far. How are we looking on rape?
Rape, we are at 0-0 for the week to date, which is a 0% change. We are 0-1 for the 28-day, a negative 100% change. And 5 to 10 for the year to date, which is a 50% change.
And we were talking about this just before the show when we said in this week's episode of negative 50% for the year. I mean, we're going into the fourth quarter of 2024.
Correct.
And we're down 50% of another violent crime. So that's great numbers to be down 50% in that category. And I think a lot of people, when they look at rape, I think the simple thing is when you get into a situation, no means no. And I think people are starting to catch on, at least they are in Hamtramck, because we see 50% decline are great numbers for the year, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially considering the national uptick that we've seen in some of the violent crimes.
Absolutely. So, hey, hats off to the people of Hamtramck and the visitors here. So, 50% decline is a great category to have in that. But on robbery, how are we?
Robbery, we are 1-0 week to date, which is a 100% increase. We are 2-2 in the 28-day, which is a 0% increase. And we are 19-24 in the year-to-date, which is a negative 20.83% decrease.
Sure. And so I know the chief was saying when we look at some of these situations of what we call maybe strong-arm robbery or something like that, we look at a thing of so many people get emotionally attached to materialistic things, their phone, their jewelry, or money that they're holding in their hands. And sometimes, often a strong arm robbery can lead to sometimes even a more violent crime. And so the thing is, we say, hey, it's always not worth the phone. I mean, when you've got your iPhone or whatever, hey, sorry, Droid phone, we're kind of prefer to iPhones.
Absolutely.
But we won't hold it against the people out there. But the thing is, the phone is not worth your life. It's not worth injury to your body.
Almost no possession you have, or if no possession you have, is worth your life or great bodily harm.
Absolutely. So when we look at still fourth quarter numbers down 20.8%, I mean, that's still great numbers for an annual year to date. So, no, it sounds great.
Again, trending better than the FBI Crime in the Nation report that was released just a couple weeks ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For felonious assaults, we are 0-0 for this week. So we are 9-3 in the 28-day, which is a 200% increase, and 73-67, which is an 8.9% increase.
So when we look at those numbers, right? So I remember talking to the chief, and he had said to make sure that, because he's gone this week, make sure that we can get across to the people listening is path of travel was a thing that he said. Path of travel that you may take. Are you watching what path of travel that is happening from the children going to the school, from school to home? Where are you traveling to the mall, to a store, to the gas station? Are you traveling in well-lit areas and things like that? A lot of the assaults that we see in town in this area are path of travel, where they're out in the open, and we want to make sure that they're traveling in well-lit areas, well-populated areas, not deep down dark alleys and things like that.
Correct. Are you taking the safest, most efficient route to where you're going?
Absolutely, absolutely.
We will now move into burglaries. For this week, we are up 200%, 2-0. 28-day, we are up 6-2, which is a 200% increase. And we are year-to-date 47 and 47, a 0% change. The B&Es for this week, one of our first two cases that we'll go into a little bit of details on. One of them was perpetrated by a known suspect, and the case has since been closed. The other was perpetrated by an unknown suspect and is currently ongoing investigation by our detective bureau.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know our detectives are working hard, and they do that every week, and they've got some open cases. They've got great leads, and they're working diligently. But from the public's perspective, a lot of these burglaries can be stopped. We see so many times at night, a lot of these burglaries, there's no motion lights. There's not a light. The biggest thing that somebody can do from a business perspective or a residential perspective that we've talked about is motion lights, motion activated lights. The odds are the criminal will go to the darkest place to try. He or she does not want to be seen. And so that way, light it up, get a simple $40 motion light can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. And that's easier than ever now, because you can go to Home Depot, you can get solar powered ones that stick up. There's magnetic solar powered ones. There's battery powered ones. There's rechargeable lights.
Even have those motion activated solar lights that go on your sidewalks, right? They just light up as you walk past. So, I mean, criminals do not want to be in the light, and especially at night. And so, a small monumental investment can save a human life if need be, or even, substantial assets of somebody that, have something stolen. So.
A thing I also wanted to cover about B&Es is making sure that you're aware of what is in your own home. If you have jewelry, take photographs of your jewelry so that in the unlikely and unfortunate event you are the victim of a burglary, you can provide us photos and we can perhaps have the best chance of recovering your jewelry or other high value items going forward.
Absolutely.
We will now move into larceny. I am happy to report for week to date, we are 0-1, which is a negative 100% decrease. For the 28-day, we are 0-4, which is a 400% decrease.
That's great numbers.
Absolutely.
I mean, 28 days down 400%. I mean, granted, it's 4, but I mean that's great for somehow these numbers are trending.
It is a much better sign than what we were seeing earlier in the year, which is reflected in our year-to-date with 15-8 and 87.5%.
Again, I mean, we were talking 50% earlier with rapes. I mean, we're at in the amount of larcenies that we're seeing right now, 87% on an annual basis in a decline. I mean, those are great numbers. And as we look at larcenies, again, a lot of these larcenies were a phone out in plain sight in a vehicle, right? A phone, money, keys, whatever. Opportunistic activities from criminals. So the first thing that we would want to say is just make sure you lock those things up, put them in a glove compartment, put them out of sight. And don't leave them out in the open. Even though larcenies can happen on multiple different venues and multiple different areas, we see a lot of them in vehicles. Correct.
Larceny from auto is a large portion of the larcenies that we see in the city of Hamtramck. So don't keep change or a wad of money, your phone, your wallet, your keys, anything that's visible for somebody to see.
And also that a lot of people don't realize important identifying documents.
Correct.
So, identity theft is still a thing that we need to be careful of. And so because fraud is out there, so we want to make sure don't leave identification out there. Some people want to get in and get documents too. So just make sure you put your stuff up, kind of keep your car tidy, right?
Absolutely.
So
we will move into our final category, which is auto theft for the week. This week we are 6 versus 3, a 100% increase. In the 28-day, we are 13-15, which is a decrease of 13.33%. And for year-to-date, we are 108-133, a negative 18.8% decrease.
And so again, annually, I know that auto theft is kind of a hot topic in town. We see posts on Facebook, we see things, and the chief has been monitoring that and having lots of comments from the public, and they've been reaching out to him. But as we look at annually, down 18, almost 20% down on an annual basis. I mean, that it shows, I think, I know from being on the road, the lieutenants are actively having us change up the patrol sequences, making things more known in the resident areas, and being able to offer a better presence as the chief has directed. So I know the officers are doing a better deal, and I think it shows. We have 18, almost 20% down annually. So, I mean, this is great movement. We obviously want to see zero, but I know it's a hot topic in the city, and those are great numbers.
And not just in the city, but nationwide as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
On the topic of auto theft, I did notice a very interesting thing this week when going through the numbers. In previous weeks, we've spoken to you about the susceptibility that Kias and Hyundais are under. And we discussed you could take your car in for the recall to get those things fixed. But this week, 3 of our 6 auto thefts were perpetrated on newer model Dodges.
Dodges, really?
2020 and up. And that was, I had touched previously on some of the vulnerabilities, especially from high-tech auto thieves that are present in those. So I would again like to reiterate the importance of a club, some sort of vehicle immobilization device that will allow you, no matter if they're a high-tech thief or not, if they come upon a car that has a club on it, they're moving on.
I'll tell you, Andrew, I mean, for 20 years, from being in law enforcement and in the private sector, in the insurance industry, I have not had one call or claim or anything of an auto theft that had a club on it. I haven't had one in 20 some years.
They're difficult to remove.
I would say so, right? I mean, I think they're proven to be pretty valuable. So clubs are going to be it. And when we're in a community that is as urban as we have and densely populated with vehicles stacked up on the sides of roads, in alleyways and parking lots and things like that, it allows somebody to kind of walk around vehicles and kind of cherry pick what they want to go into, right? So when you walk up to a vehicle and you're like, hey, this one has a club, what are they going to do? Just like a burglary, I'm going to go to the next one, right?
To the next best opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. So no, that's a great topic for clubs. But how are we doing total though for crime?
This week, total week to date, we do show a 125% increase at 9 to 4. 28 day, we are 11.11% up, 30 to 27. But year to date, we are down 267 to 289, which is a decrease of 7.61%.
And again, not to rehash some of the numbers, but it's great numbers that we are still down, but that's even with the influx on the way the FBI does their reporting.
Correct.
So even though they made it, the numbers stack a little bit differently, we're still down annually, and which I think is great. Great news. So
absolutely.
Traffic, though, when we get into traffic, fatalities, I know that's a very sensitive type of event, but how are we looking on numbers there?
Week to date, we are 0-0, so a 0% change. 28 day, we're 0-0, a 0% change. And year to date, we are still 1-1, which is a 0% change.
Yeah, so that's great. I know social media wise has had information on that. That's an active investigation, active criminal investigation. But fatalities is something we are again a very densely held community. We need to watch speed. We need to watch the areas that we're in, especially around schools and highly populated shopping areas and things like that. So it's very important. But how are crashes doing?
Traffic crashes overall, we are 7 for 7 week to date, a 0% change. 28 to 41, a negative 30.71% decrease in the 28 day. And year to date, we are 345 to 394, a 12.44% decrease, which I am happy to see that our numbers are starting to trend down as we begin to wrap up the year.
Yeah, so a 28 day, I mean, we're down 30% in that month from year to date, from year to last year. So, obviously the year to date numbers, if we continue on this trend, are going to be exponentially better. So that's a great thing to have. And I think, again, people are mindful. I think there's been, there's a lot of things being said about, driver safety, speed and things like that, that I think are starting to really sink in some of the residents and visitors. And hopefully our visitors know this. I mean, when they travel to Hamtramck, they know they're coming into a densely populated area, but I'm happy that that our residents are seeing a negative 30%.
I am as well. And I know that many of you in our city and nationally happened to see the accident that occurred at Joseph Campo and Holbrook the other day. I know I ran across it on a relatively large X page, but I wanted to, on behalf of Chief Altahari, extend my thanks to the Hamtramck Fire Department and DTE Energy for helping us to wrap up that scene as quickly as possible and to get everyone moving safely again.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually on that scene.
Oh.
And so, directing traffic and making sure that everybody's there. We had all of our scout cars there. Sometimes people do make mistakes. In this particular case, we saw on social media, a commercial vehicle come in contact with that light pole. And in this particular case, everybody needs to be mindful. Watch the turns. Watch when you're going through a residential street, whether it's commercially, personally, on whatever vehicle you're driving. Make sure that you're taking a little extra time and caution. And if you're not comfortable driving those larger commercial vehicles, you need to be even more mindful, even more extra care and caution, especially in these types of areas.
That goes for any vehicle. If you're not comfortable driving any vehicle,
it does.
Take extra care and caution.
It does. So, those are great numbers. I know that the chief in historic weeks in the last couple, he's gone into about the Citizen Academy. A little bit more information. He's putting that program together that specifically involves community academy that's going to have officers that are talking about their specific skill content areas. For instance, narcotics, auto theft, identification, evidence text, canine, every single bit and part. So when a community member that is enrolled into this academy is going to have a well-rounded view of the police department, a little bit more intricate because it's going to be a adult that is into this rather than children. We had a great successful youth academy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the Citizens Academy is just another initiative that he's putting forward. So the Citizens Academy is going to be coming out with a lot more information to come that he'll be rolling out, I think, here probably in the next couple of weeks. So, but I know that when we talk about murder, rape, assaultive crimes, and everything else like that, I know the saying that, what have you been saying? If you
see something, say something.
I know, and that's something that's gone out nationally. That we kind of reiterate every single week on this program. But I know the one thing that the chief always has a mantra that he says every single week. So we're here to keep you safe.
It's what we do.
So hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for joining me this week, Officer Dave. I appreciate it.
I'm glad. Hope the chief's back next week. You guys do a great job. So
thank you very much.
Absolutely. See ya.
Stay safe.